Goedemiddag iedereen en welkom bij de webinar over Quality 4.0. Sophia Finn van Veeva Systems zal jullie op de valkuilen wijzen en vertellen hoe je die kunt vermijden bij de implementatie van Quality 4.0. Martijn Bethlehem van Veeva zorgt voor de inleiding. Martijn, aan jou het woord.
Hartelijk dank, Bart. Allereerst goedemiddag natuurlijk en hartelijk welkom aan de VCK-leden. Bedankt voor jullie tijd en interesse. En ik wil ook graag het VCK en speciaal natuurlijk ook Bart bedanken voor de organisatie van dit webinar. En ik zal nu overschakelen naar Engels, omdat mijn collega Sophia vanuit Amerika werkt. So, Sophia, here we are, now switching to English. So, good morning. Sophia is based in Maryland, US, so it's still morning for her. And before we're moving on to the introduction, I actually would like to make use of the opportunity to make you aware of the VCK Congress. It will be about quality culture, and you will see that it has a link with this presentation as well. So, of course, we hope to see you in Antwerp. So let me try to switch the slides, even that works. So today we'll present to you our vision on how to avoid common pitfalls when developing a business case for Quality 4.0. Of course, this is based on our experience in the industry, with lots of implementations done in quality management, and especially also in Sophia's background as quality manager for over 10 years. She will introduce that a bit more in her introduction later. But let me first take you through the agenda for today's webinar. So after the introduction, Sophia will take us through some of the elements, challenges, and impacts of Quality 4.0. And after that, she will introduce common pitfalls, like, for example, a siloed approach. And we'll end today's session with time for questions. So first, let's take a short moment to introduce ourselves. Sophia, can you go first?
Sure, and I'll turn on my video. Can you guys, is it working? Oh, it's a little fragmented. All right. Hi, thank you, Martijn, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Finn. I am based in the US, and I've been in quality and regulatory for over 13 years. I started with the US FDA, and I worked there as a microbiologist as well as in quality system, and then went into the medical device industry, managing complaints, CAPAs, supplier management, as well as dealing with ISO audits and FDA inspections. And from there, I've come to Veeva, and I've been with Veeva for almost 3 years now, but working with technology and seeing how we can improve the quality management systems that are out there and give you a technology that is modern and can really unify your processes and bring everything into one. So thank you for attending the webinar, and thank you for having us, Bart.
Thank you, Sophia. So I'm Martijn. I'm working for Veeva since a year. And before that, I've actually always been in software with a focus on content management. And my focus currently for Veeva is the Benelux area. So that's why you see me over here. So we'll switch off video because there's a bit of a delay we figured out. But anyway, you've seen us now. And you know, we can always link up after the webinar as well. So let me move on to the next slide. So I'll tell you a bit about Veeva, just a quick introduction before we go to the presentation that Sophia prepared for us. So Veeva was actually founded in 2007 with a focus on life sciences. And nowadays we have over 750 customers in several regulated industries. And we are with more than 2,800 employees. Veeva is a publicly traded company. And it's good to know that our founding value is customer success. So we're actually having customers all over the globe. And we have offices in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. And what we do is that we actually build innovative cloud-based solutions for regulated industries like life sciences, chemicals, cosmetics, food and beverage, and CPG. And you would, for example, find us in customers like UCB, GSK, in Belgium, but also companies like BASF, DSM in the Netherlands, Syngenta in Switzerland, Procter & Gamble, Dior, and Nestle. And with that, actually, I would like to hand over to Sophia. And please keep in mind to write down your questions. We'll be happy to answer them later, of course. So thanks, Sophia. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Martijn. All right, so let's just go over some of our learning objectives for today. So we're going to go through and review some of the top 6 quality challenges, connect how Quality 4.0 is opening a new chapter in quality and addressing these challenges, discuss some common pitfalls to avoid when developing a business case for a Quality 4.0 digital transformation initiative, and then we'll end with a summary of the top 5 tips to consider when developing a business case for Quality 4.0. All right, so let's see what Quality 4.0 is all about. So Quality 4.0 is actually a reference to Industry 4.0. It's not really the 4th phase or level of quality. We're probably in the 2nd phase of quality, but instead the number 4.0 relates to the 4th phase of the Industrial Revolution. And the Industrial Revolution began in the 18th century with the invention of mechanical tools such as the steam engine, the cotton gin, and telegraph that transformed transportation, production, and communication. Then in the 2nd phase, it was all about expanding these tools and then being able to use electricity for mass production in factories. And then finally, in the 3rd phase, in the 1960s, we entered into the introductory use of IT systems for automation and organization and communication. And now, in the 4th phase, it's an expansion of those principles and with very extreme rapid advances using modern technology to connect and also move and analyze data, and then to help us to grow and to transform how we have been operating. And so how does all this relate to Quality 4.0? So before we go into that, I would like to go over some common challenges that many of us are dealing with and have also dealt with in the past. So these are challenges I hear all the time from quality professionals, and no matter how big or small the company or from what industry. And many of these I've personally also struggled with in my previous jobs. So these challenges are not independent from each other, and actually a lot of them cause some of the other issues. So let's start with manual processes. And everyone is suffering from manual processes. And this isn't, by manual, it's not meant to just be paper, but it's also using old technology or technology beyond its intended use, such as spreadsheets. And we all love using Excel, but it does have its limitations. And when I worked in quality, I had an Excel spreadsheet or a log for everything, whether it was a complaint log, a CAPA log, non-conformance log. And then when I needed to do management review charts, I would have to create pivot charts that would take me weeks to put together for management review presentation that we would do annually. So it really doesn't help you to be flexible, and it also doesn't bring a lot of visibility of your data across your organization. And a lot of this is limited because of the technology that we're using. And the technology and our way of working also limits collaboration, both internal and external, because the capability is not there to support it. Meaning that most technology out there does not allow us to securely bring in suppliers into our processes. Currently, in the way that I did it, was managing suppliers through email. You would send an email, you would wait for a response, and sometimes you would get a response and that was great if it was timely. Sometimes you wouldn't get a response and you would forget about it, because there's just so much back and forth and so much the quality department has to do. And so that is not great for efficiency or even having an effective process. And then a lot of older systems are not easy to use, and they're also not able to be updated to meet new regulatory requirements or new standards. So they're not able to grow with the company, and it doesn't allow you to be flexible. So essentially what you have to do is, if you want to make some updates, it's almost starting from scratch. You have to start a new configuration, a new workflow, and maybe work with IT to make those changes. And then additionally, a lot of what this does, all these different processes and systems, is silos, where silos exist everywhere, whether it's an old technology on-premise system or manual processes, like I mentioned, spreadsheets, shared drives, emails. They really hinder our collaboration, and silos exist in everyday processes, and they limit our transparency and visibility across the organization, as well as being able to collaborate internally and with our suppliers. And so I'm sure many of these challenges are sounding familiar to everyone right now. And really just know that you're not the only one experiencing these alone. So let's see how Quality 4.0 is going to be able to empower us and address these challenges for us in the future. So this is a graphic from LNS Research, and this shows 11 areas to evaluate of how to use technology to move from a traditional quality to Quality 4.0. One thing really, really important that I want to emphasize is that in order for Quality 4.0 to succeed, you really must have a solid traditional quality foundation. You really cannot, it doesn't make sense to use technology to improve a broken process. Your process has to be robust, and it has to be established, and it has to be proven before you can use technology on top of that to improve it, make it more effective and more efficient. And then also aligning Quality 4.0 with Industry 4.0 initiatives is critical. So there are digital transformation initiatives everywhere, and making sure Quality 4.0 is part of the plan is it'll really make a big difference for quality. We know how hard it is to get budgets approved already, and then being able to piggyback off existing initiatives will hopefully make it easier. And then ultimately, what Quality 4.0 does is address poor quality culture, lack of data, and transparency across an organization. It also ensures that modern technology is being used to address issues and brings leadership focus. It increases collaboration and increases competency across the business. And then it makes quality a cross-functional responsibility and not just a quality department function. Okay, so let's look at how we can use technology to drive improvements in quality. So in data analytics and modern technology, so there's lots of information being collected, and this will help us to make real-time data-driven decisions. And then, everyone's talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and as these technologies continue to develop, this will help to make a lot of the decisions that are left to be completed manually to be automated. So it'll help to make everyone more efficient, as well as our processes more effective. And then we all have apps that we all use on our phones every single day, and it will allow us to bring that technology into our work lives, and we can complete audits, we'll be able to complete inspections, or you can take a picture of a nonconformance, you can add it to a record, or you can even send that nonconformance to a supplier. So it'll really help us to just engage a little bit more with each other, and to be clearer, and to be able to have better traceability and visibility across all our processes. And then in regards to leadership, culture, and competency. So as quality aligns with the company strategy, the culture of quality is transformed, and quality becomes, again, everyone's responsibility, because if those ideas of what quality does are not on the quality department anymore. And then with new ways of learning, such as artificial or augmented reality and virtual reality, and the different methods of training, you can better ensure competency and also have better knowledge transfer across your business. All right, and then connectivity, scalability, and collaboration are really probably the biggest impacts of modern technology on quality. We can connect securely anytime, anywhere, with anyone using modern, scalable global systems, just like I'm here in the US doing this webinar. So we should be able to use the same technology to be able to communicate with our organizations no matter where they are. And so all this ensures traceability and accountability across the business, as well as with our global suppliers that are all over the world. And then ease of configuration also means that you will have an EQMS that is compliant. It's also able to grow with your business, and it can also integrate with other systems so that you have seamless processes across the business. And then this connectedness across the organization or plant becomes a reality, and it gives you the ability to eliminate those silos that have made us so inefficient for so long. Okay. So let's discuss some common pitfalls to avoid. So as quality professionals, it's really up to us to ensure that our quality system is compliant and effective, and to be able to use modern technology to make these processes easier for us. So resources are limited, and of course, we're always expected to do more with less all the time. So we really do need to work smarter, have technology be able to help us with all these activities, and eliminate a lot of the redundancies that have plagued our industry for a long time. And then as regulations and standards get more and more stringent, there's always more requirements. Things just get more and more complex. So let's look at some common pitfalls that prevent people from convincing their management that they should fund their Quality 4.0 project. So we will dive deeper into each of these points, but these are the common issues that we've seen dealing with hundreds of accounts as they go through their EQMS selection and purchasing process. And many of these I've also struggled with in my previous positions of selecting different solutions, or even needing to get further funding for continuing to keep a solution. So a lot of these are really important. So jumping into our first pitfall is not elevating the importance of quality. So does everyone here know their company's strategic objectives? Do you read the annual report when it comes out? I mean, in my experience and even in my past, this is not something that I've done, and not many quality professionals have business experience. But, we're always too busy fighting those fires that keep the company running from a compliance standpoint. We have to address non-conformances. There's CAPAs that have to be completed and closed. We have audits and so on. But aligning quality with overall company strategic objectives is a relatively new concept, but it is so important in order to elevate the visibility and focus of quality. And then once you've familiarized yourself with your strategic objectives, I think it's really important to ask yourself, how can quality contribute to these goals? And when ISO recently revised in the 2015 version, they removed that vague, I don't know if you guys remember that whole idea of the management representative. Well, they removed that, and they added that the QMS is now the responsibility of leadership, who must ensure that the quality policy and objectives align with the organization's strategic direction. So this is definitely the way quality is headed. And then one last point to make here is that make sure you know what digital transformation initiatives are currently underway at your organization. Talk to your IT group and see how your Quality 4.0 project can also be part of the greater transformation. So not only does this elevate quality, but it could also make it easier to get your project funded. And so let's move on to the next pitfall, which is none or the wrong metrics. So if you're not providing data, you definitely should be doing that. They will help support your case of why you need an EQMS and how this new technology can help you improve, and not just your quality processes, but really the overall company goals. And don't keep KPIs narrowly focused on reactive processes, such as what we always keep track of, right? How many CAPAs do we have? How many complaints came in, this quarter or this month? And then how many non-conformances? And then how long have they been opened? We always look at time, and really this only shines a light on the inadequacies of the quality team, whether they exist or not. We get questioned for not investigating or closing issues quickly, instead of actually looking at why there were issues in the first place. So instead of looking at data retroactively or being reactive in the way that we really need to be looking at data proactively and determine where there are trends, and then address these before they actually become issues. And then it's also important to make sure you correlate quality data to large business trends. For example, like customer satisfaction and product quality, how to improve manufacturing processes, and even increasing your speed to market. And then ensure you are keeping cost data to show cost of poor quality. This one is really important, and more and more people are becoming familiar with this and getting better at getting cost data and maintaining and being able to address it. But we need to do better with that. And questions to ask are, what do material issues and scars mean to the business? What do supplier issues cost when you have to do a rework or scrapping materials? And really, how much money is being spent on auditing a supplier who's non-compliant or who's not responding to your findings, or your supplier corrective action that's been sent? There's a lot of waste and time and effort spent there. And then focus on how much money can be saved by eliminating some of these issues, especially through increasing your efficiency and effectiveness using a modern tool. So this is a really good point to emphasize, because a solution should help you to be more efficient. And so there's time savings there. And so it's really important to know how much time you can save so that you can quantify that and you can use that data to be able to show why an EQMS is necessary in your company. And then when you do have the proper metrics that align with the business, people will listen better, because obviously there's numbers and there's data that's being provided to them. And then they will see how it impacts the whole company and not just specifically the quality department. So the next point is not talking the language of the C-suite. And this table here is really nice because it's able to illustrate the different priorities of each chief or the chief of that particular department. You can clearly see here how if we were saying the same thing to each of these groups, it would not resonate well, as they each have a different metric to meet. So it's so important to know what each of these departments is looking for so that you can better communicate with them. And also, you are able to more likely get an executive sponsor for your project, because you're able to help them understand the value that quality brings to the table. And this helps also, again, going back to our first point, to elevate and brings focus on the importance of quality. And many of the points align with what we already talked about regarding presenting metrics, customer satisfaction, product quality, improving manufacturing processes, and increasing speed to market, and then of course, cost of poor quality. So now you can better align the data that you're collecting to reach the right audience. And then moving on to our next one, and this is purchasing EQMS in a silo. This is a common issue I see all the time, it makes sense why people kind of, if it's a quality system, electronic system for the quality department, well, the quality department is the one that does the purchasing by themselves. But even if the budget is in the quality department, there really should be a cross-functional team doing the selection. Think about it. So quality will need others to use the system to complete actions, right? Definitely don't want quality doing all the work. And by allowing people to come and look at the system and be part of the selection process, you will get better adoption, especially if other people have agreed to it. And this is also your way of making sure that quality of culture starts to infiltrate throughout, the whole company, because now there is a single unified solution that everybody is using. Then the other thing to note is also that other groups also have similar needs. And so, such things as they'll be controlling and updating documents, they'll be managing potentially some suppliers, whether it's from the operation standpoint or, bringing suppliers on, or procurement, any of those departments, and also completing training. And there's so many different activities, and they can use the same system to complete their activities now. So now you have a single solution that can be used across the whole organization. And this will help to streamline and simplify all the processes, and again, eliminate those silos. So last point here that I really, really want to emphasize is to please include IT early in your selection and purchasing process. I've seen this more often than it probably should happen, but we've run issues where the business doesn't know that IT has a technology selection process. So we'll start a process, the business will spend a lot of time evaluating, and then they'll find out, oh, IT has a process, and then they have to start all over again. So it just, one, it wastes time, but it really does cause internal friction because IT will get frustrated, then the business will get frustrated because they have to respond to IT. So just knowing and being aware of your company's policies will help to bring in the right people at the right time, and then also to make it a nice, smooth process as you're selecting and purchasing and implementing your solution. Not knowing current state and plan for future state. So this is our last point, and it's equally important point as the other four. You really have to take time and assess your current situation. I can't emphasize this enough because you have to know where your weaknesses and your strengths are. What are your biggest challenges? And if you can address a lot of the biggest challenges early on, you will have some very quick wins, and it will motivate and excite a lot of people in your organization. And it'll really just make you look like you're awesome and you're a winner because now you've made these really impactful changes to the organization. And also, if you don't know what your current state is, it will be really hard to be able to show how you've improved, which really makes it very difficult to get continued support from your organization because you're going to require funding to keep your solution going. So if people are not seeing that benefit, then it will be that much harder to get that system to continue to be part of your processes. And then assessing your current state also helps you to determine where you want to be. So it gives management an end in sight, and it will help them to understand your ultimate goal. So, you've done your current status, and then you're able to show them, this is where we want to be, and they will be that much more engaged, and you'll be able to have that buy-in from them. And then once you've outlined your goals, you'll be able to determine how to implement your project. A lot of times, there may be just way too much to do all at once. So it helps to map it out in phases. And we always recommend this because sometimes if you just take on too much, it really just overwhelms the group. So it's really good to break it up wherever the priorities are for your organization. But this will allow everyone to be on the same page with the same expectations outlined, and then there will be minimal surprises as you're going through your transformation process and bringing on a new technology. And moving on to our top tips. So this, in summary, and our final tips that we'd like to share with you today. And so basically, do elevate the importance of quality by knowing your company's strategic objectives and aligning quality with those goals. Also know what digital transformation initiatives are already underway so that you can take advantage and be part of the greater company technology vision. And then do use proper metrics that will show value of quality across the business, and don't just focus on data that is specific to the quality department activities, but really just show data that will show business value across the entire organization. And then do talk the language of the C-suite. We review topics that are important to each of the groups. So align your metrics and talking points around each of those areas, depending on your audience. And this is a good way to have strategic alignment and then an executive sponsor for your project. And do include a cross-functional team in your selection process, and of course include IT early on. Departments who will be using the system, whether it's quality or outside, should be part of the process. And this in the end will have a positive impact on adoption across your organization. And lastly, do a self-assessment to know where your current issues and greatest challenges are, so that you will know what you want your future state to look like. And this will help to get everyone on the same page and eliminating any surprises and really getting everyone on board. It is not easy to get a system going. The selection process is very difficult. The funding process is very difficult. But allowing people to be part of your process and having them to having buy-in from executive management and also showing the value really promotes quality, and it shows the value that quality brings across the whole organization. And really is building that foundation of quality culture throughout the organization, which is our ultimate goal. And thank you everyone for your time and attention. And I think if we have questions, we're going to move on to the Q&A portion right now. So if you haven't put in your question yet, in the attendee chat over on the left-hand side, you're able to type in some questions. Bart, are there any questions? Do you see anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
Wie vragen heeft, kan de vraag intypen in de attendee chat en dan worden die beantwoord door Sophia.
I think, Bart, we can round it up. I don't think there will be questions for now. If there are, there's a question. Good. Thank you, Marlies. Dankjewel. So if there would be any questions later on, you can find us on the website of the VCK. Just go to the expert session and you will find me. So look out for Martijn, and then you will find me on the expert session, or on the expert page. You can ask your question over there. So if you would have any questions, we'll share the deck with you. And yeah, with that, I would like to thank you all, and hopefully we see each other at the VCK conference, the 21st of November then. Bart, any last comments you would like to make?
Well, thank you very much, Sophia en Martijn. En bedankt kijkers om de webinar te volgen. Straks na afloop kunnen jullie nog doorgeven wat jullie van de webinar vonden. En na afloop krijgen jullie ook nog een mail met een link om de webinar te herbekijken en de presentatie. Tijdens het VCK-congres van 21 november, binnen 2 weken dus al, zal Veeva ook een sessie verzorgen over de perceptie van kwaliteit en hoe je kwaliteitscultuur kunt ondersteunen via digitalisering. Hopelijk tot dan. Bedankt voor het kijken. Dag.
Dag.